Does everybody have a seat and a lunch? Everybody? Okay. We got everybody? Okay, but everybody's got a seat and a lunch? Okay, awesome. Thank you all for coming. I am Christy Goman. I'm the Executive Director here at the Winter Garden Heritage Foundation. Welcome to our first Lunch and Learn. I'm thrilled to see the turnout. We will be doing more of these in 2026. This is just another initiative that we have to bring the community into the heritage, whether it's a heritage happy hour, or whether it's a lunch and learn, whether it's a large event. We're all about community. We're all about Winter Garden in West Orange County. So there's something for everyone. And we're thrilled that you all are here. This is a great turnout. This is exactly what we wanted. We want you all to meet your neighbor, reconnect with your neighbor, learn a little bit, and have some good fellowship as well. So thank you very much. In addition, there are some great things we have coming up. We've got October 1st here at Heller Hall from 5 to 7. We are showcasing a new exhibit. It is the Champions of West Orange County, and it's about athletic excellence within our community. We'll also have some exciting guest speakers, Major League Baseball player, Rolex 24 race car drivers, as well as Lakeview High School football players, just a mix of community. So please come out for that. It is October 1st from 5 to 7. You can find it on our website. Please RSVP so we know how much food and drink to have for everyone. In addition to that, our first annual Oranges and Ornaments is end of November. Don't want to miss that. It's on our special events page on the website under Hometown Holidays, as well as Opera Orlando will be presenting All Is Calm mid-December, the 20th and 21st, and I don't think anyone in here wants to miss that performance. So thank you again for coming. This is wonderful. If you need anything or have questions, please always reach out to me. We do this free, and it is the help of you all, your memberships, your donations, your volunteerism that allows us to do this. So I ask that you please take time to, whether it's giving of your time or monetary value, help us to keep this going. Thank you so much, and I'll let Will take it away because it's been out.
All right, can everybody hear me? All right, perfect. So just to echo a little bit about what Christy said, thanks everybody for being here. I know that some members, here, let me turn down the volume a little bit. It's a little bit echoey. Let's see. All right, I think that'll be a little bit easier on the ears. All right. Okay, so just to echo a little bit about what Christy said, thank you all for being here. We even had some members from the Pounds family here who traveled a long way, so we appreciate that, of course. And without further ado, I will start telling you guys about Hoyle Pounds, who is really one of the, sort of the big men of Winter Garden of the 20th century, really. And we'll get into it. So I'll explain a little bit about, well, whenever you're, writing anything or whatever, the first question is always, why? So why is Hoyle Pounds such a celebrated member of the Winter Garden community? Well, first and foremost, he started Pounds Motor Company, which provided all of the, the mechanized agricultural equipment to the citrus growers and vegetable growers in the area. So that sort of gave him a central role in the community because citrus was one of the biggest employers in the area. So because everybody needed citrus equipment, everybody needed to show up and talk to Hoyle. So he knew everybody. Next, he was also involved in a lot of other ways, including being the fire chief. And we'll see a little bit of the other activities and projects he had going on towards the end of the PowerPoint. But to start off with, we'll go over a few of the basic facts of his life. So he was born on December 6, 1893, and he lived until March 6, 1981. He was born in Ocoee, and he attended the University of Florida for 3 years until he said they didn't have anything else that they could teach him. So yes, and at one point he was the oldest living Gator. So they had the tradition of having the oldest currently living former Gator football player come out onto the field before the game, and he did that a couple of times in the early 1970s. So let's see. All right, so This is actually, this should say, the first Pounds Motor Company location in Winter Garden. So it actually started in Ocoee in 1914. It started out of a shed that he rented from somebody else, but he made enough money that after a few years, 6 years, he was able to make the move over to Winter Garden. And this is the building that he moved into. So this building is actually no longer there. It looks a little bit like the whole enchilada, but it's not the same building. So this is actually where Urban on Plant is today. And I'll show you the next photo of the interior. So you can just sort of imagine whenever you're sitting at the bar at Urban on Plant, this is what the bar used to look like, with tires and all sorts of automotive equipment in the back. Get your parts here. Now it's get your booze here, but it's changed a little bit over the years. And I love this photo. So this is in the second building. So he was in that building for another 6 years. So that was 1920 to 1926. In 1926, he built the building that is currently standing there today. And this is the parts counter. And I don't know, there's just something about this photo. I love the 1940s atmosphere to it. And this safe actually still exists. It's still in the same building. Burkett Engineering is what is there today. And if you go in there, it's in one of the offices, and you open those doors, they must weigh, 200 pounds. And it still has stuff way tucked in the back from when it was owned by Hoyle Pounds. But anyway, so how was his business such a success? Well, it comes back to his work ethic. Whenever you read in interviews or talk to anybody about Hoyle Pounds, everybody remembers what a hard worker he is. So there's some quotes here. There was one he did an interview with the Orlando Sentinel in the early 1950s, and the guy called him and said, when can I meet you at your home to do the interview? And his response was, home? Hell, meet me at the shop, I got work to do. Later in his life, he actually lost 3 fingers on his dominant hand and then continued to run Pounds Motor Company, which to me is astonishing, because I would never be able, I can do anything, And then in another interview, somebody was asking him about the oil crisis in the late 1970s and what his opinion is on what should we do as a country to get through this. And his response was simply, well, let's get to work. All right, so this goes over a little bit about what I said earlier, founded in 1914 in Ocoee, rented shed. And then, that's right. So in the beginning, in the 20s, when he was first operating out of this and the first building, he would actually take live trade-ins, which to me was something that I never even thought of. But in the early 20th century, people were still using mules and horses to, operate their citrus grow. So he would actually take mules and give them a tractor in exchange. And there was a property that he had, I believe, on South Lakeview, where he would temporarily hold his mules that he had acquired through his tractor business at Pound Motors. Okay, so this is the original, this is from the original Ocoee shop that he had. You can tell it's got, wooden roof, so it's definitely not the one over in the garden. And you can just see all of the fancy looking equipment that I personally have no idea what it is, but it looks very complicated. All right, so this is just after the 1926 building was built. This is the one that is there today. So you can tell it's brand new. You can tell these cars are from the 20s. And you can even see this is where the Garden Theater is today. So you can't even see this part of the building anymore. It was covered up. And you can see right now, this is the front of the building. So if you walk past Pounds Motor Company, there will be glass here, there will be windows, but this is actually opened up in the past. So you would drive into here and get your gas there. And some of the rumors are when they renovate the building, they may open it up again. So they may go back to the original retro look of the, let's see. So, and of course, probably the most famous thing that Hoyle Pounds did was he was the first person to put a rubber tire on a tractor. So that was really important because here in the area, of course, as I said, everybody was in citrus, but everybody owned a lot of plots that were far away from one another, but they only had one tractor, so they had to drive between their plots. Well, the only problem was the roads were paved, and all these tractors had metal wheels, so it would just destroy the pavement. So Hoyle Pounds had a brand new idea. He got the patent for it. And when asked why, he said, hell, we needed to. They had to get their tractor from one road to the other, so he came up with the solution. And of course, as they were sold then, they only went, somewhere between 10 and 20 miles an hour, really slow. But he developed a road gear, so he sort of developed a third gear that would allow the tractor to go up into the 30s and 40s miles per hour, I believe. And he suggested to Ford, hey, you should put this in your tractors. And they said no, so he just did it himself. And the tractors that he sold now had his speedy ability. So this is actually a photograph of the patent, which we actually have here in this building. It's in our archive with all of our other documents. We've collected so much stuff from the Hoyle Pounds, from the Pounds family over the years, thanks to the generosity of the family. So we're lucky enough to have the original patent. Oh yes, okay. So this is interesting. So that building, the Pounds building, it actually still has the original freight elevator on it. So there are only 3 of these that still exist in the state of Florida, and this is the only one that still works. So back in the day, what they would do, I believe until 1952, the machine shop was on the 2nd story. So they would drive the tractors, the tractor delivery would come in, they'd drive them off the train, they'd drive them up here, they'd get on the elevator here, and they'd go up. And even though it still works, I believe they are legally prohibited from using it. And if you ever step onto it, you will very quickly see why that is the case, because it's a flat platform in this shaft and it goes up, and there's no safety rails or barely anything like that. And there's these giant gears, you don't want to fall into those. So, but we were lucky enough to have this, remnant of the motor company still there on the building. So, in terms of the brands that he sold at the motor company, he started off with, I believe, Fordson, and that through the 20s and 30s, I believe he continued to sell Ford. But then there was sort of, that deal fell out, and he moved on to Case Tractors, which he was very successful with. So he turned out to be, this dealership was the largest Case Tractor dealership east of the Mississippi. Other car dealerships that would have tractors wouldn't be able to sell them. They send them over to Pounds. And believe it or not, he was awarded a trophy, which we have in the Winter Garden Heritage Museum today. So this is a gigantic trophy that was out in front of the building when it operated as the tractor and car dealership. It probably weighs about 300, 400 pounds or more, but we managed to get it into the Heritage Museum. So see that there. And then go back a bit. So he invented and innovated various different machines. So we get shipments of farm equipment that was going to be used up north, right? And in the north, because they have cold winters, they don't need to use farm equipment as often as we do. Here in Florida, we have a very temperate climate, some would say, and through January, February, March, we're still running tractors, we're still, working in the grove. So he would sort of upgrade them so they'd be able to withstand the increased use that comes along with, operating on a Florida road, as opposed to somewhere in Massachusetts. So here we go. I'm going to show you guys a bit of a succession of some of the interesting equipment that he developed. So this is a speed sprayer. So this would spray pesticides into the grove. And he actually was sued for this design. So he upgraded, got the speed sprayer, he upgraded it. And the original people said, well, it's kind of our design, and they sued him. But He won because he could demonstrate that it was a meaningful improvement on the design of the speed sprayer. So it's pretty obvious what this would do. You don't want to be standing in front of this one. But yeah, so this is a hedger, and it's actually sort of hydraulic. So you can, it'll change direction to be vertical. And then you just drive it down the rows of the groves and off all the branches and come. So let's see. Right, okay, so this is a tapered hoe. We'll actually see another better angle of it later on. But what's that? Oh, right, okay. My bad. I saw this, I thought that was the hoe part. But the point with this one is this right here is not actually original to the tractor. That is a modification that Hoyle Pounds installed to make it compatible with LP gas. So Hoyle, they would originally run on diesel or gasoline, and Hoyle Pounds LP gas was cheaper and it was better. So Hoyle Pounds would modify them so that they could be used with LP gas. All right, so it's pretty obvious what this does as well, but this is sort of a contraption to just carry boxes of oranges through the grove or from the grove to load them up. Then this here is a tree banker. So this creates the cone of soil that goes around a baby or a sapling tree. And I believe that this would protect the tree if there was going to be a freeze, right? So you can see what it looks like, and then they had to use another tool to remove it. So you'd see this sort of thing is the unbanker, which would tear down the cone of soil. He looks like he's having a little bit more fun than the previous guy. He seems to really enjoy it. So this is the tapered hoe, as I was saying. So this is interesting. It will actually also, it's hydraulic. It has an adjustable length. So depending on where you are in the grove or what sort of size of tree you're dealing with, you may need a different size. So this would, of course, fold down, and then you have all the bits there that would go in or go out depending on what you needed. Right. And then this is the other sprayer. So the previous one, the speed sprayer, that would spray pesticides into the grove. But this one would spray sulfur, and that would kill all of the spider mites. And then this is something that probably proves that I'm a bit of a layman. I obviously am not old enough to have worked in the groves here myself. But until I'd seen this photo, I never thought they're standing up when they're driving the tractor, which seems interesting to me. But then also they're standing up, and then there's this little hood so that if they need to, if they're driving through the the rows of trees and there's branches coming down, you can sort of duck down and hide from the branches by crouching beneath there. All right, so these are the Quonset huts, which I like to point this out in the tour. This is actually right here. This is where the farmer's market is today. So before it was, before there were booths of people selling their wares, it was Hoyle Pounds preparing his wares to sell to the citrus growers. So you can sort of see here, this is the building that is still there today. And then this is, I believe, right. Yes, that's right. It's the parking garage. So you have the two huts there. And then across the street where the pavilion is today, you've got this hut as well. So that was originally owned by Pounds. All right. So also, Pounds originally, or not originally, but he came to own the Garden Theater as well. So this is actually what the inside of the Garden Theater looked like. I don't know when this photo was taken, but based on the machinery, I would guess 80s or 90s probably. So it was the 70s, you think? Yeah. So when the theater closed, that was in the, I believe, 1963. Hoyle Pounds was friends with Collie Biggers, who was the owner of the theater. he purchased it from him and used it as a warehouse in the intervening years. And then around 2008, or actually in 2003, the Winter Garden Heritage Foundation began the process of revitalizing the theater, getting it up to scratch once again. And at that time, Pounds Motor Company, provided the theater to be restored to its former glory. But actually, whenever you're sitting in the theater, you can think, well, there used to be a bunch of tractors in here. Right, okay, so now what did Hoyle do other than run Pounds Motor Company? He ran the fire station. So he was the first fire chief here in Winter Garden, starting in 1920. He was the fire chief for 41 years. We actually have his helmet here over there on that table, which was also kindly donated by the family. I would guess that's probably the last one that he used as the fire chief because it's made out of plastic. But it says 41 years on it to celebrate his long tenure over there at the Winter Garden Fire Department. He oversaw the construction of the first fire department, which is today's Sobo. Back in those days, it was funded by WPA money, and there was only one architect in town. And he was not a certified architect, but he had taken one drafting class, and that was good enough. I mean, the building is still standing today, so he must have known a little bit about what he was doing. But here's Hoyle standing in front of it, and you can actually see the fire truck that's out in front of the museum today is right there inside the fire station. So the legacy lives on. So also, because Hoyle was the fire chief, a lot of the people who worked for him over at Pounds Motor Company were also involved in the fire department. So he would encourage his employees to be firemen, and they actually had the whistle inside of Pounds Motor Company so that they would know, when they had to get to work on putting out a fire. And they had a little bit of a code. So the fire whistle, it would blow once if the fire was in Winter Garden, twice if it was in McCoy, 3 times in Oakland, and 4 if it was at the Packard House. So they knew which direction to head in. All right. So, of course, other than running a business and running the fire department, everybody knew Hoyle Pounds as a friend, of course. So he had various social ventures. He opened the boat ramp. So this photo right here is actually the boat ramp that is there today, up near Newton Park. And that is Hoyle Pounds right there, the first person to launch a boat off of that boat ramp. And from Lake Apopka, he organized the boatcades. So they would, go from Lake Apopka, they would go down south through Lake Kissimmee, down into South Florida. Is that not right?
And Jackson was that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Lake Attached that way, not south.
Well, right.
He
There were,
wouldn't go from Lake Apopka.
right, because the Oklawaha goes north, that's right. But yes, I'm getting confused because one of the Orlando Sentinel interviews, he also, I believe his first one may have been from Lake Kissimmee because there was all of the, there were comments about how on his first boatcade, some of the people who went with him who maybe didn't quite know what they were doing got a little bit lost in the swamps, and then, Hoyle Pounds and crew had to come help them get out. But so the boatcade would leave from some of the local lakes in the area and go throughout the state. What he would bring for food on the boatcades, my friend Tom Burnett brought some examples, are saltine crackers and Vienna sausages. And as Tom told me earlier, if he was tired of the Vienna sausages, then he would go into the baked beans. So we have an example of his diet here today. It keeps well in the warmth of the swamp. So other than the boatcades, another thing that he did is he put a lot of people through college. I've had a lot of people say that he financially supported my family, and he never asked for any thanks. He did it, under, he wouldn't brag about his generosity, right? So, so even though, even though he had a tough exterior, at his core, he was a kind-hearted man who was generous to the people around him and the people that worked for him, and the people. Right, as I mentioned, so the fire truck was originally purchased by Hoyle Pounds to give to the Winter Garden Fire Department. It was in operation for a long time, for decades, until I believe the 90s, and then it was sold off to be used in a grove. So it was used for a few more years as a grove truck. And then finally it came back to town, just where it is today, in the early 2000s. And then here we have a photo of him hanging out with some of his employees. I believe they are eating his famous chicken perlo recipe. Let's see, it's also, I believe, Buster Dodd and Herbert Pounds are in that photo as well. And then, so we come to what happened to Pounds Motor Company after Citrus left. So, as many of you probably know, in the 1980s, there were the 3 freezes that devastated the citrus industry. It didn't really recover. A lot of the citrus growers sold their land to developers. So Pounds Motor Company needed to find a new identity, right? How do we adapt to the new situation? Well, they focused on selling domestic tools such as lawnmowers, chainsaws, and stuff like that. You can see here, I believe this photo is from the early 2000s. And believe it or not, Pounds Motor Company did actually have a bit of a legacy in lawnmowers as well, because if you guys know snapper lawnmowers, they were actually invented at Pounds Motor Company. So he was friends with, I believe Neil Smith is his name, who invented the snapper, and they worked together to develop that within the Pounds Motor Company building before it was sold off to a larger company. And then after it was sold to a big company, they licensed it back to sell at Pounds Motor Company, and they continued to sell snapper brand lawnmowers for decades until they finally closed down in 2008. You can see they have the snapper logo on that sign there. And then, that's right, so as mentioned, the building still stands. It currently houses Burkett Engineering. There is some rumors that Burkett is going to move up to the 2nd floor, and there's going to be something new in the bottom floor, as mentioned, and open up the front. So we'll be waiting to see what sort of renovations or what the next evolution of the building is beyond what it is today. But yes, as mentioned, so some remnants of the Pounds Motor Company remain. So we have, as mentioned, the fire truck. So Pounds, as I said at the beginning, Pounds was like the center of the community, right? Most people worked in citrus, so most had to communicate with Hoyle Pounds to get their equipment. So he was the center of the community, and then the fire truck, he bought the fire truck, and the fire truck now sits literally at the center of our community on Plant and Main. So his legacy still lives on physically right in front of our face every time we head down Plant Street. Right, and then here is a photo of him accepting he is being introduced into the Florida Agricultural Hall of Fame. So it wasn't just, you know, he received recognition from around the state and around the country because, of course, he invented the rubber tractor tire. He built up a long list of achievements over the course of his long career, and he was eventually recognized for that. So he was a member, he currently is still, you know, honored as a member of the Agricultural Hall of Fame and the Florida Citrus Hall of Fame. And I believe that brings us to the end, but does anybody have any questions?
The fire station there, is it still standing or where is it?
Yeah, the fire station is still standing, so did I go past it? I think I did. Right. There we go. Okay, so yes, it is still standing. It is part of our historic district here. So it currently houses Sobo. So if you go on South Boyd Street, it's now the art gallery today. It's received some renovations over the years, but it has survived since 1938 when it was built. All right.
He loved food and cough drops.
What's that?
Food and cough drops, menthol cough drops.
What about them?
He loved them.
Oh, right.
He loved them so much the company bought him a case every birthday.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
He had them everywhere in his car, and, you know, home, just laid everywhere.
Yeah, had to stock up. Yeah. His second favorite behind the Vienna sausages. All right, does anybody have any you have a question?
Bill,
Yeah.
tell them what Mr. Pound's motto was.
Right. I don't recall what exactly is his motto. I've read a lot of quotes from him.
Anything's possible as long as you have an open mind.
Right.
and pocketbook.
It's true. It's true. And they're getting a long way. For sure, yeah.
And he also, another cute story, Mr. Pound was the fire chief for many years, and he had to know when 12 o'clock noon came because he blew the fire whistle.
Right.
Number one, to test it, to be sure it would blow when it was needed, and to also tell all the townsfolk when it was time to go to lunch. So he had to know when 12 o'clock came. So the only way to know that for sure was to check with the town jeweler and watchmaker, Mr. Grogan, be sure that he had the right time on his watch or his clock at the shop. Mr. Grogan set his clock by the noon whistle.
That's right, that's right.
The siren was in his office.
Yeah. And then it was moved to the water tower right outside that photo.
Right. So the whistle would blow from the water tower after?
After Mr. Pound was no longer
Right.
fire chief.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, anything else? Any questions?
So where is the Pounds family today?
Oh, well, right over there.
Okay. Hey, I'm from Colorado, I've never heard none of these stories. I'm just learning what the word citrus means. So I'm here to
There's
be,
still a
everything
bunch
that
of
man
them.
has said has been,
There's Winter Haven, they go to Houston.
We lived in Houston. We had to move to Houston. We're originally from here. And,
My great dad had 3 sons and a daughter. And
I'm the daughter.
the daughter's
You're the
daughter's daughter.
And, my name is Lucy, and I was named after my grandmother. So,
And
yeah.
Doug had a son, Russell, lived in Windermere. And Donald had a town butcher company in Winter Haven. And-
so does your family still own buildings here?
No, we sold them all in 2008. The city did not like us sitting in the middle of their city hall area.
Well, there was, tractors and things coming. Back in the day, it was a citrus town,
Yeah,
but,
it was gone. All the roads are gone.
so.
Is there a citrus town in Florida now?
If you go further south into Polk County and St. Lucie County and stuff like that, there are still growers, but it's much less. The last vestige of citrus that was really here in Winter Garden was Heller Brothers. So they operated a packing house over on 9th Street until 2023. They weren't growing citrus here, but they were still shipping citrus in from St. Lucie County to pack it here.
And that building is still standing?
The building is still standing, but it is not operating anymore. If you drive down 9th Street, you'll see it.
Yeah.
The citrus in the heyday was Florida was producing over 280 million boxes, and this year it's like maybe 20 million.
I don't know, I came from Aldi's and showed up with a bag of oranges and it said, product of Brazil, and I just about lost it. So it's sitting right here in the middle of Florida.
When Brazil ships it all up,
You move further south, citrus moved further south, sort of.
Mhm.
And then in the last few years, there've been these blights that have come
Mhm.
and just about wiped it out. That's why you get it from other places.
Right.
So what is our industry that we don't have citrus here now? What-
Tourism.
Yes.
Oh, it is?
Right.
Wow.
Now there is only 400 acres of grove land left in Orange County. That's it. I believe that's the 2024 number. It could be even lower now. But yeah, so in the 80s, there were the 3 big freezes. There was a really bad one in 89. And after that, the land value had grown so much, there wasn't really it wasn't economically viable to try to restart the groves, so they sold them off to developers, or most people did. There were some who stayed into the 90s, but then in the 90s, that's when the blights.
Greening.
Greening and
Another
canker. Yeah. So there was greening and canker that killed a lot of the trees, and then those that stayed after the freezes, then they, mostly sold out.
A lot of backyard trees were destroyed because of the
Right.
canker spread.
Right.
Isn't there a fly or some kind of?
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that destroyed our industry here.
Right. It's an invasive species of a fly or some kind of gnat-like insect that spreads the disease between the trees. I do know that it hasn't, even though it has really wreaked havoc here in Florida, over in California, it hasn't totally caught on yet. They're super strict over there. If one tree catches that disease, they rip it out and burn it, and then all of the adjacent trees, they rip them out and burn it. So
They do
they're
that here.
really, well, must be very voracious.
Ticked off a lot of growers.
What's that?
It ticked off a lot of growers.
I'd be pretty ticked off. All right.
They were removed 1,800 feet each side of the tree.
What's that?
They were removed in a circle, 1,800 feet. If one
Wow.
tree, they actually removed 1,800 circle.
Wow. That's a lot of trees. It's not just adjacent, which is what I read. That's
But
adjacent plus.
All the way around.
Right. Does anybody have any other questions? Mhm.
As a teenager, that was my first job, working for Hoyle Pounds.
Wow.
And that was quite an experience.
Uh-oh.
Never did learn my name, he just called me little girl.
Wow.
So, and the first time he came in office, he wanted me to type an invoice. And he said, I think this is great, and they put her.
Mhm.
I didn't know what her was, but he was saying, so that was a hero, I believe in the word. Is that her? Is that her?
Hero.
Yes. So I had to learn that. Here's what, that safe was just perfect in case there was a fire, he didn't lock. He had a
Right.
drawer, his desk drawer on the right, he wrote him. But that's where I kept, he had money in about 5 banks, and that's every bank and the code they had in that bank, so he's always checking that. And
Right.
so this, if you came in to buy something, you wrote it, you're down, if you couldn't afford it, you'd still leave with it, with this, we would
Right.
never say, please pay.
That's right.
Anything like that, no,
Yeah, there's a lot of stories. As mentioned, he was very generous and put a lot of people through college, right? But also there were people where they couldn't afford a tractor, if they were doing a deal, a trade-in or something like that, and they couldn't afford the balance, and they couldn't afford a tractor, he would give them a tractor and say, pay me later, right? He would invest in the community and invest in the groves.
Good thing about growing up as a teenage boy here, was when it got cold, we got what they call fire orange groves. So these companies would
Right.
hire us to go out in the groves and sit on, in case we had to light smoke pipes. Well, we get paid $15 a night. A lot of times we didn't have to do anything if it didn't get cold enough. But the really good thing was you got the next day out of school.
We actually have an original one of the smudge pots in the Heritage Museum, and it does mention on the card that there were kids who would every opportunity would take that job because they don't want to go to school. All right, any other?
My observation was the one reason that Mr. Pounds was the largest tractor dealer was that he always put customers first.
Right.
And if you've ever had to operate equipment and make a living, you couldn't afford to be waiting 3 weeks for a part to come in or something like that. So Hoyle Pounds made sure that all of his customers got serviced immediately. Phil tells me that if you had a tractor in Tavares and needed a part, he'd take it to the train station, the train would deliver it to Tavares, and he'd pick it up, put it on the tractor, and so the tractor could be going that day. So he put customers first, and that was one reason that growers kept coming back to him to get equipment, because they knew that he would service them and take care of them.
And he had it in stock.
What's that?
He had the parts in stock.
Lots and lots.
Right,
and lots
yeah.
of parts.
It sounds like he was very prepared.
he also didn't service anything that he didn't sell.
Right.
So his customers came
Right.
first, and he didn't service
Yeah.
John Deere tractors or anything
Yeah.
else. If you didn't buy a case tractor or anything that he sold, he didn't work with it.
You couldn't get a hoe machine put on your tractor if it wasn't a tech, if you didn't buy it from there.
Right, yeah, which is extra incentive to keep your customers happy, for sure. All right, anything else? All right, well, I think that just about does it. But of course, you're free to continue to visit and enjoy the free lunch that we provided. I want to mention, of course, that we're having some more events later in the year. We've got one coming up on October 1st. I believe Christy mentioned we're going to have a MLB player and other local sports celebrities. And then for Christmas, we're going to do an opera All Is Calm, which is going to be playing in the Garden Theater from on December 20th and 21st, as well as Orange and Orange on November, is it
21st and
Okay,
2nd,
21st, right. Mhm. And tickets for all of those are available. Well, October 1st is free, but tickets for the opera and Orange and Orange are available now on our website. All right.
Well, you did an excellent job. You can watch SpongeBob anytime, man. I do it. Every time I get off of work.
Please take the book as well. If you don't have one, please take it.
Right.
They're wonderful. And again,